So for the lab of today, you will create some graphical interfaces, such as you have these ones. And for each and every label which appears here, or you can have text fields, you can get their values, as well as you will have action buttons for each one of them. Here you have a drop down, as well as you can add fields in this way, one under another. Well, let's see, you can all use IntelliJ. And in IntelliJ, for example, you have this option with Swing, then you have UI Designer with the GUI form, such that you have these two files. So you have exactly how it looks here, and you will simply drag and drop, such that you can add labels and you can modify it. So here you have the text, and you can say value, okay, this one will appear above. And you've also got the code, which is for a certain button. You can go over here and you will have the listener. Okay, so for the listener, you will have the whole logic behind, or you can use a data bind wizard. And the same, what you can do, you see here that for a button, you've got an action listener. And for each action listener, you've got the action performed based on the event. So it is the mouse click event, such that the button will be pressed. Or what you can do, also maybe you use NetBeans since last year, it is very similar. You have here the options, which you can simply drag and drop. So you put something like this. All right, so let's delete them. So you just place them one by one. And this is just simply drag and drop, so you can move them around based on the position which you desire. Now, you've got a design, and here you see that you have some values inside it, such that you have for each and every one of them exactly which are the values. So here you have exactly the values that you can have. Okay, so you can set multiple actions, like the action which you have, which is the action command, like you have the combox change, and now you have this selected item. So if you go here, you have exactly which is the one on which you clicked, as well as you've got the model. So based on the model, you've got all the possible options that you can have as cities. Okay, and you add them one by one, like here. Then if I would like to test it, let's go to run file. Okay, so even the new edit city will appear, okay, as well as you see that this one is in fact, you got labels, okay, you see that it is named JLabel2 of type JLabel. This is a text field, so you identify the values based on their ID. This is a JTextField1 of type JTextField. You have a button, so this is button 1, because you will have different events for buttons. Then you will have the radio buttons with 1 and 2, as well as you will have exactly the text for it, okay, like female, as well as you've got male. Then for location, you have exactly a J combo box, so it is exactly this one. And you can add several types, these scroll bars, progress bars, and you can simply modify them. Then let's see, if you want to have the action for save, what you need to do is to double click on it, and it will generate exactly the J action performed. So if you look here, you have exactly the action which stands behind. Okay. Now for this location, it will be exactly based on the location which was selected, and you can receive it, as well as you have per which radio button was selected. So let's see, if the first radio button was selected, then I want to store the gender to be female, and for the second one, it will be male. Then what you can also have, you see that the code is generated for you automatically. So at the course, you were shown how you can write all this code which exists here, such that based on the graphical user interface, you define your J label. Then you have your buttons, two buttons that you have here for press me and save. Also, you define your text fields, okay, with all the classes which are called based on Java Swing. After which, you also have the text for them. You also get the action listener, and you see here that for a button, you have the action perform. So it is exactly like this one. You see that you have exactly the same thing, button 1, add action listener, and you have the action perform. So or you write here the logic behind, or you have the action performed method, which will be called such as in this example. Then what you can do is to set the values, as well as you see here that for each radio button, you've got an action performed. For the other radio button for the mail, then you've got a new action. You also have the combo box, and the combo box, based on what you did inside the graphical user interface, it creates the options which exist. Now, as you can see, we also have already the last added city, and you have the action associated to it, as well as for the second button, you also have it. Now, it is not only enough to say that you have them, you need to also think about how you group them. So when thinking about grouping, you will have your pane, and your pane will have your horizontal groups. So you need to align everything and to add a gap between them such that you have them placed like over here. And this is automatically done for you, so you don't need to code it. But at the course, you were shown how you can simply do this. So over here, when I have the first action button, it is the action button for this press me. Okay, so let's see that you have a value, and you have the J option pane, which will display the value that you entered. So if we simply double press, you see here that you will have the root form. You have the value of J text field 1, where J text field 1 is this one, J text field 1. Okay, and you will have a J option with show confirm with alert, so you can change the option, and you will have, let's say, the warning message. Then you will also have the J radio button based on what was selected. So you can have the mail, okay, and then you have this button to be selected. So keep in mind that when you click on this radio button, the second one will become false, okay, so it is like here. You have just one option out of them, so they are in fact, when you define them, the J radio button, okay, you have it here. And in this way, you need to simply set the other one as being false, because if I don't do it, so let's simply close this. And I don't want to have these ones anymore. So let me show you what happens. Now I have, say, female, and then I've also got male. So now, because you don't set the other one to be false, they will appear as being selected. And this is why you set the other one as being, as having the state false. All right. Then you will have the option which was selected based on your combo box. So the combo box, you have just get selected item, and for the other one, you have it with is selected, and you receive the value, as well as from a text field, you've got the option with get text. Okay, so let's see what appears. Now I want to choose a city, and it will display for you which option was selected. So behind, you can simply, by pressing on save, you can simply append inside the file what was selected by simply combining each and every option from here. So for example, for button 2, you've got exactly the location which was selected, and then the gender is simply established according to which button, which radio button was simply pressed. Okay, and then you can simply show them. So this is what happens behind. And don't forget that all of this is done for you. As well as in IntelliJ, it is very similar also. You have these spacers which you simply need to drag and drop, as well as you've got the indent. So you can look here, you've got fonts, you've got foreground, so you can play around with it to create your interface. Or you can use what I do have here. So I will upload this frame for you to have it all in one. And now what you will have to do, so this is basically, you can do it now or until the holiday. You will have here a label, you have two text fields. You need to get the values to add them according to the ID. So don't forget that you receive the value with this J, is this one, J text field, get text, and then you will simply have to convert it and to be a number. For product, you have the exactly as it was done for cities, and you will have to write inside the file. So firstly, you read element by element, and by reading them, you set the values. Okay. So this is about the design. All right, and now you've also got threads. So threads are when you have different processes and they work all together. When they are synchronized, just one thread can call one method, and until it doesn't finish, you cannot have another thread entering to do the processing. So over here, it is like with synchronized, so you mean that that object is used just by one thread at a certain moment in time. So while a thread enters such a method, you have all the resources which are blocked for another thread who wants to access that method. So let's see, with the producer and the consumer, for example, we have cookies, and we will have a producer of a cookie C, as well as we have the consumer associated to it. So we have instances of objects which are created, and they are made available such that you have another process which can simply take them one by one. So they can be seen as events and you want to process them, meaning that they exist all together. So producer and consumer, they are threads. And this means that you need to call the start method, which will simply call the run method placed inside each and every thread. Well, let's see. Now, what they use are in fact cookies, and these cookies will be in fact some contents and whether they are available or not. So when you want to get a certain cookie, you have it with the method synchronized, such that one thread can enter the method and it belongs just to itself, such that you don't have any other thread entering the method. And now you need to check, is this cookie available? So it means that while you do not have it, so while available is equal to false, you need to wait until you will have an event such that you've got a put event. Okay, and if not, if you get, so if it was true, then available needs to become false because you have just one instance, and you need to notify all the other threads. Okay, as well as you can return your contents for this cookie. And then when you want to create a new cookie, you have it based on a value, let's say an ID. And now, whether you want to put, so you want to make it to exist. So whether available is true, so whether you already have it, then you need to wait until you have another thread which will do the get. Then you will have the contents. So the contents of this cookie, you want to put it, so you want to add it. And the contents will become equal to the value that you provide. as well as you will have this available as being true because you create a new instance of type thread. Then when you have a new instance of type thread becoming available, you need to notify all the threads because you have these other threads being in wait state. Okay, they didn't have what to process. Now a new cookie was created, and by doing the notify all, it will go forward and it will notify the other threads which will want to produce it again. Now let's see, this means that you've got a consumer. A consumer is in fact a thread, so you need to extend threads such that you can override the run method. And consumer will simply depend on a cookie as well as you've got a number. So this is like the ID of the consumer, meaning that you need to have the constructor of consumer based on a certain cookie and a number, as well as inside the run method, you want to have 10 cookies that you will have to get. So you consume 10 cookies with the values from 0 until 10, as well as you display how they get consumed one by one. Then for the producer, again, it depends on a cookie and on an ID. It's seen as a process. It is of type thread, so you need to extend thread. And you have to override the run method, such that you will also have to add 10 cookies, such that you can consume these 10 cookies. And then you will have a certain producer, which puts a certain cookie inside. Okay, and you also have a sleep. So you have a time span between creating these cookies. So for all these Chinese factories. Now, what you have here is another threads problem, such that you have restaurant, and inside the restaurant, everything happens in the kitchen by selling pizzas. And each and every pizza has an ID and a number of ingredients. Okay, so you have two scenarios when you have the waiter, so the waiter will produce an order and the cook will have to consume it. Okay, as well as you can see the other way around about delivering pizza. So the cook will be the producer of the pizza while the waiter will be the consumer by simply delivering the pizza to a certain table which ordered this pizza. Now, let's see. First of all, you've got the restaurant. Inside the restaurant, you will have one kitchen. Then you will have 5 instances of waiters as well as 3 cooks. All of these are threads, so you will have to start them and they will call their run method. Okay, waiter in this case will submit an order, so he will be the producer in this scenario. And you extend threads such that you have an incrementer, waiter belongs to a kitchen K, as well as they are known by a certain name. So what you need to fill in here, so you need to fill the dots in this example. You will have to initialize this .k as being the parameter over here as k, and this .name as being the name of the waiter that you receive. Then you will have to write the behavior of the run method. This waiter is in fact the producer, and the producer will simply submit an order. So when you want to submit an order, you will submit it inside the kitchen K. And kitchen K has what? It has an array list of pizzas. So you will have the orders of pizza which come one after another. And you have a maximum size. So you will have several ovens and you cannot cook more than this maximum size number of pizzas. Inside it, you will have the constructor. So here you need to fill the dots. And in fact, this array list will be equal to new array list of pizza. So you need to allocate it. As well as you will have to define your maximum size. So you can place, let's say, a value of 10 pizzas, which can be done. Now you think like this. You want it. So inside kitchen, you have this add of pizza. So what you first need to do is to check whether the maximum size is not exceeded. So if order.size, okay, so the dimension of this array list is simply equal, whether it already has the maximum size, then you need to wait. And if not, you need to add a new pizza. Let's say you have a new O pizza, so you will do the order.add, as well as you need threads. So you will also write this method such that the get, so the threads which do the get the consumers can come and simply, you want to do the get, what do you need? In fact, is to have at least one pizza inside the array list of order. You have the order, the size, which is greater than 0. Okay, then you can remove. If not, you need to wait. Okay, so you will enter the wait state exactly as it was done for the cookies. Okay, with this one, with wait over here. So whether you cannot receive it, you wait and then you notify. Okay, so let's see. Here inside run for the waiter, in fact, you will have to submit the order. So in fact, you will call k.add of pizza, and you need to create this new pizza according to a number of ingredients, after which you will have to wait for, let's say, 10 milliseconds. So when you wait, when you sleep, all these time measurements are done in milliseconds. And then you need to call again the run method, okay, such that they still exist and it will be a loop. So they become permanently available. Then you've got the submit order. So when you want to submit an order, you will have to create this new pizza of a random number of ingredients. So let's say you have maximum 10 ingredients, and in this way you just add them inside the kitchen, so you have the k.add. Now the consumer is in fact the cook, so inside the constructor you need to set which is the kitchen. So this.k equals k, this.name equals name, and inside cook you have the run method, so you need to get which is the current pizza from the kitchen. So first of all, you've got the object as being null, then you need to check, so you want to get it from the kitchen by calling the get method. You can wait for, let's say, 5 plus the number of ingredients times 2, such that you have a time span between the threads. And you need to call again the run method that's available. And that's all that you need to do here. So basically, you just need to fill in. I will stop the recording, and whether you do have questions.